So when you get done, I'm saying that the unemployment rate that everyone is screaming about is so great in the state. I think there's some question to that. And I think we have to look a little further than just the rhetoric of it. We have to look at the reality of what we see around us. You know the effects of poverty. I don't think I'm making it up. Two more things and then open up for questions if I can. Transportation, someone asked about tolls. I'm gonna tell the truth. There's a part of me that loves the concept of tolls. It's a way to get some revenue. You know, boy oh boy, we can do it. But let me tell you the negative. The negative is the roads that are in the community will be the roads that will then not be funded. And so the places, especially where you have communities that do not have a lot of homeowners, where you don't have a lot of revenue, which is what Milwaukee is becoming, since so many individuals that we are paying out to be employees to Milwaukee live out of Milwaukee, the money never circulates in Milwaukee. Enough money. So tolls, I like the concept because I'm just like, we need some revenue for transportation, you know, we need options. But I don't, because I believe that we could deal with the issue much more effectively, you know, very candidly. And I think we could do some things just like allowing people who buy a larger and more expensive car to pay more than people who buy a car that is $500 from the auction. You know, it just makes sense. They shouldn't be paying the same amount. So I believe that there are other options, but when you're not the majority, you get to suggest things and people get to put them in the circular filing cabinet. It's called the garbage. What else we got? Issues related to Milwaukee County. Some things were brought up in the Lincoln Hills issue. So I ran for office because of the justice system, because of my desire to see it be different. And the juvenile system has me at a passion level that, you know, some days I could cry, because the reality is that we've created a problem from infrastructure to lead in the water, to the consequences of lead, to the consequences of poverty, to the consequences of dependency that happen through AFDC being the place that people came from many different places to the community that is very nearby. All of that with child welfare being broken, I mean, to the point that literally 6 kids died within 5 days of each other in Milwaukee, and not that long ago, and no one's been disciplined, fired, or anything in the Department of Children and Families and Child Welfare, and we have the worst disparities. That coupled with foster care and the disparities that exist, that coupled with juvenile justice, that pipeline is the pipeline in Lincoln Hills. And that pipeline is a problem, because then when they get there, the programming is not sufficient. Anyone in here a teacher? Anyone in here have kids and know that you're supposed to like love on them, and you can't like just, you know, like call them dirt bags every day and expect that they're going to be healthy when they get done? Well, guess what? We do the latter in the place that we call our juvenile corrections facility. Not saying that all of these kids are altar boys, you know, but just for clarity, we are the community where priests did rape children. So even priests can be bad, right? But my point is that in Lincoln Hills, these children may have done wrong, but they are still human. And when you know, hurt people hurt people. If we have them in the juvenile facility and the way that we deal with them and we program them, you know, and do programming around them is such that we're not helping to heal the situation, then that's a problem. So I'm excited that we are having conversations about taking and repealing from the statute the language that says that children, in my opinion, it says children from Milwaukee should be a commodity, because it says the juvenile facility for boys should be north of Highway 29, I think it is, north of La Crosse and Eau Claire. Just for clarity, all studies and best practices say that they should be close to their families, close to community, if you want to rehabilitate. It is Department of Corrections, not Department of Punishment. You know, so we're having some good conversations about what should happen differently, how we should let counties be engaged. in juvenile justice so that we can hopefully right-size the system and then determine where we would build a facility that would be best, which to me should be in the Milwaukee area. I'm certain that the speaker and Senator Weingart will ask for the Racine area. Clawbacks, somebody asked about a clawback on what will happen if they don't do what they need. There was a personal security given on the Foxconn money. But it wasn't for the full amount that we're paying. It was only for like, I think 500,000 or something like that. So there's a personal like signature that we got from, I think it's Mr. Wood, but don't make me, I can't remember the exact name right now, but yes, but it's not for the full amount, but it is for some small amount. And when you're dealing with a foreign, company, the best way I know to tell you is, we have a huge issue with individuals using the intellectual property of many businesses in China and other places, and how well we've been able to dispute those things legally and get, those pieces under control doesn't always work. So maybe it will work out, but either way it goes, we will never get back all of our dollars, is the short version. With that, I'm very close to the end of the time, but I hope to allow you to answer some questions, so I'll try to do them as rapidly as I can. Questions? I tried to listen to some of the things you wanted to know about so that I could put them in my presentation. Yes?
I have kind of a wacky question for you and Representative Bowen.
Representative Bowen left, but I'll do my best to answer for him too.
How do you keep your head with all this?
Very good question. For me, I'm a woman of faith, so I listen to a lot of sermons. I listen to gospel music. I do some yoga sometimes when I have time. I try to get sleep in, but it doesn't work very well when it's busy like it is now, to be very candid. And some days it's hard to keep my head. I had a young guy who was at home when I came home. And no matter if I liked what happened in Madison or not, he really didn't care about that. He wanted to know what we were going to eat. Hey, mama, but now he is 18 and he lives with his dad, and I'm an empty nester, and I didn't know that was what that was going to be like. So, so it really, I can't tell you that every day is good. It isn't. Some days it's like, why are people not awake? Why am I the only one that's screaming about lead? Some days it's just like, I don't really know why I'm doing this anymore, right? But other days, I'm more than energized, Just yesterday, I felt inspired because the representative came over to chastise me, for speaking up and pointing his pencil at me and blah, blah, blah. And I really didn't even notice the pencil. I just noticed that he came at me and I was like, you for real? And at that moment I said, you know what? I need to be here because evidently, it would be even worse because he feels comfortable enough, right? To not do anything and then to be mad because somebody's saying something about what you're not doing. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so thanks for the stories on Ezekiel, that was cool. But I'm curious about the tolls versus the $30 increase on the license plate. I understood that the $30 increase on the license plate in Milwaukee County was supposed to cover.
So that was not a $30 increase on the license plate. It's the wheel tax.
Yeah.
But for clarity, that's multiple issues. So at the county level to fund their budget, they were thinking about a $60 wheel tax. But what they did was the board agreed to do half of that, and they did 30. And then they were still trying to get the other 30, and the county executive wanted them to, but the board said no. That's a separate issue.
But what was the money for that?
Well, for the whole county budget, and I'm not at the county level,
Okay.
I'm at the state level.
Okay.
At the state level, we have registration fee, we have several different things that we have. We used to have the gas tax, we don't. Very candidly, I think we should put the gas tax back instead of tolls. It would be my suggestion. It would be a nice first step. Nobody really feels it because nobody felt it when we took it away. So short version,
Yeah.
that wheel tax was at the county level, but for people who live in Milwaukee, there is a wheel tax
Yeah.
already that they pay. So Milwaukee residents, city Milwaukee residents will pay a wheel tax for the city, wheel tax for the county, and then we pay whatever we pay on registration or whatever.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Yeah, it's a lot. And we shouldn't be feeing our way to taking care of the things that we need to, but based on who we have in charge, I don't know what page he's on, but the guy who's our governor, he believes in feeing you to death so he can tell you that your property taxes are down when they really are not. Because if I save you enough to buy a piece of pizza on your property taxes, but you pay enough fees where you have to pay what is equivalent to a car note, I just played you completely. You think your property taxes went down. It just wasn't called property taxes. It was called fees. That's what you've been experiencing and what we will continue experiencing under the administration we have, from my perspective, of course. And being on finance, my perspective is based solely on the numbers. Yes.
Didn't the governor say that he would vote for the toll booths as long as the taxes would be reduced by the same amount?
That sounds really illogical. He probably said it.
How's that a game? I don't get that.
Yeah, I really can't justify the governor's logic. It is exactly why I ran against him for county executive years ago, because I believed that he was going to run for governor and that we should not let him run for governor, and that he had did a bad job mishandling county business, that he had allowed infrastructure to be deferred, all of that stuff that you heard Sheldon speak about. Many of those things were things that had been deferred. That is why the maintenance on the parking structure, the piece that fell on the young man, it had been infrastructure challenges. Matter of fact, you can go back and Google the YouTube video that I did. I said infrastructure challenges, one of the very things I said in the video. And I said he was running for governor and he said he wasn't, and then guess what he did? So anyway, I can't answer for him. Well, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. Anybody like
Dan, remind me of your last name, Dan?
Harris.
Thank you. He's from Congresswoman Gwen Moore's office. So he's got the next 20 minutes, so about 7:25, 7:30 if that's what it is. So feel free to mention what's happening at the in DC.
Yeah, I think we can do that. I'm certainly going to start out by saying I'm a poor substitute for the Congresswoman. The reason she's not here tonight, was able to make it last year, of course, is the budget happening in DC. We're crossing our fingers that we can get something done on that front. But even that, I believe, is just a sort of a kick the can down the road to some extent. It's a broad agreement which says, okay, in theory, we're going to up defense spending approximately $80 billion. We're going to up domestic spending approximately $63 billion. And then the year after, so 2019, we'll do an extra $5 million. But the budget sort of happens in two processes in DC, right? You pass your budget, but then you have to pass the appropriations to pay for everything else. So the budget document's more of a guideline for how they want to proceed on the appropriations front. There's a lot of things going on right now in the city. The senator mentioned the lead issue. The congresswoman's been very active on the lead issue. She's been talking with the CDC and the EPA and some other folks about trying to make sure that we figure out the who, what, where, why, and when of what happened at the city with some of the lead problems, to make sure that we can take corrective action. Because at the end of the day, the money that was received by the city for lead remediation and testing of children, it's a good program, right? I mean, we need to do those things and make sure that our children are safe, but we got to do them right. And when something comes up and it's not done right, you got to course correct. Another issue she's been active on is the Greif barrel issue. I know the senator's been active on that as well. Forgive me, I'm sorry,
the what issue?
A Greif barrel refurbishing plant issue. So Greif Incorporated is a national company that refurbishes steel and plastic drums, and there have been a few journal reports on that. couple weekends ago, we held meetings both in St. Francis and then again at the Villard Square Library in Milwaukee. And I know the senator held a meeting there earlier last year at the, what church was that again?
New Jerusalem.
New
Right,
Jerusalem
right
Church,
down the
right across
street,
the
right
street.
across the street from the plant.
Yeah, and so we're, you know, it's, our meetings, just I think like her meetings are about being active on the issue, making sure that the residents of the neighborhood have their concerns heard, making sure that the applicable agencies hear their concerns, and I think we were fairly successful in that. It was in the paper today, but we sent another letter to the EPA and a small sub-agency called ATSDR, it's Agency for Toxic Substance and Disease Registry. But basically, they're a consulting agency that provides like health opinions on, okay, if we're exposed to X, Y, and Z in this combination, what possible effects does that have on our health? I think the big thing to come out of those meetings was that we just don't know. That the agencies, you know, certainly have fined and are in the process of fining the companies based on process questions.